Hello everybody, my name's Jim Hinze. I'm with Hinze Pen Company, and today I'm at Turner's Warehouse to talk about one of the few things I've invented, and that is a tenon cutter. The tenon cutter is used for making custom pens. It helps those without a metal lathe obtain precision tenons prior to cutting threads on a pen body or in a pen section. The tenon cutter comes with a number of gauges for setup. It allows you to cut tenons starting as low as 9mm all the way up to 15mm. And these cut the perfect size for the triple start taps and dies also sold here at Turner's Warehouse. So we're going to walk through how we set this up and cut a tenon for a section, which little piece of material you would either cut a 9, 10 or 11mm tenon on your section, depending on what your cap size is. So we're going to first set up the tenon cutter to cut a 10mm tenon to match the section here like you would on a normal pen. To do so, we're going to loosen these set screws which hold the blade in place. We're going to remove the blade, take the 10mm gauge, slide it over the guide pin, and we're going to place the blade in there, and we're going to make sure, got to put my glasses on, that the tenon or the blade is square and resting gently on that gauge. We're tighten one side, snug, and then the other, and we're going to make sure that it's nice. And I'm going to hold it up to the light to make sure I don't see a huge gap come through, and finish tightening it down. Okay? Slide the gauge out and we'll get ready to cut the tenon. So the first thing we need to do is bore a hole, and I've got a little scrap piece of material here. On the tailstock side I have a Jacob's chuck with a center drill. A center drill is a good way to do a starter hole in a piece of material to make sure the drill stays aligned and straight through the bore. We're going to be running the lathe at around 1200 RPM, which is a good reasonable speed for both drilling and using the tenon cutter. So we're going to start this up, tailstock locked, and we're just going to ease the center drill in, and we're going to go up about 2/3 of the way of the 60-degree cone that it has. Back this up, and we're going to switch this out for a 6mm drill bit. 6mm drill bit is the proper size for the guide pin and the tenon cutter. And since we're doing a section, we're going to bore this all the way through. It's going to be a through hole. If you were doing a body for a pen, we'd be drilling between 2 and 3 inches, 3 inches being ideal. So we're going to turn that up, and we're going to position this right at the beginning of the hole. We're going to ease this in, and we're going to drive it all the way through. Pull this back a little bit, get more travel. Ooh. Okay, we're through. So now we have the blade set, we have the through hole bored. We're going to mount the tenon cutter in the Jacob's chuck and snug this down. And we're going to put a little tension on the quill lock, not a ton, but we don't want it rotating a whole lot as we're going through. I've already etched a line for the depth of the tenon. That's about 3/16 of an inch. I'm going to bring this close, and we're going to guide this into the bore, and we're going to come just up to the front. Now, we're going to hold the tenon cutter so when it engages the material, it doesn't jump one direction or another. We're not going to put any downward or upward pressure. We're just going to help guide it in, and we're going to run that blade right up to that line. And right now, we have a square tenon ready to receive a 10mm thread. Just that easy. So the section is pretty much that easy. Doing the tenon for the body is equally as easy. You would choose 12, 13, or 14 bushing. You'd set the cutter. You'd bore the depth of that guide pin. My suggestion is 3 inches. You need 3 inches to accommodate the ink pump, the Schmidt ink pump or converter that goes in along with the section. And then you cut it exactly the same way. You set the depth of thread, you enter the guide pin, you gently run it forward and out, and your tenon's ready to be threaded for your cap. These are available at HinzePens.com or TurnersWarehouse.com. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at jim@HinzePens.com, or you can email the good folks at Turner's Warehouse. We'd all be happy to help.